Next up, we're going to move across to another tool, and this tool is something that we call Tecala Triagr. Now, again, this tool, the problem that this tool is trying to solve is many of the customers we work with, they're receiving hundreds, if not thousands of emails on any given day. And what this means is that these emails are coming into their organization, and generally what happens is there's one or more people looking at these emails and then going through and classifying these emails into a category. So what type of request this is. And then what we need to do is these teams of people need to redirect this work to one or more people to go and actually action some of these requests. So what Tecala Triagr is Tecala Triagr is a tool that allows us to analyze and automatically classify these emails, and then it allows us to identify automation opportunities for any of these specific emails. So let's go have a look at what this actually looks like. So the first thing that we're going to see is we're going to see some of these emails automatically get sorted into one of your custom categories. We're also going to do something called sentiment analysis, or we're going to review the tone on the email. This is really, really important in customer service scenarios, because what we want to see here is we want to pick up where customers are happy, sad, or perhaps grumpy, so that we can escalate those and get the answers to those questions in a timely manner. And in addition to that, what we're going to do is we're going to provide a summarized description of the contents of this specific email. So generally what we see is companies have different categories that they'd like to kind of surface these or kind of sort these emails into. These categories could be exactly what your business does. So maybe it's billing and accounts, or complaints and feedback, or general inquiries. Maybe it's invoices or purchase orders, or different things like that. So the first thing that we do is inside that email inbox that you'd like us to monitor, we create kind of different folder structures with each of those categories. And then what we do is we figure out which folder you would like us to monitor, and we would actually then put Tecala Triagr to work on that specific email inbox folder. So what we do is once we've configured that, we simply turn on Triagr, and straight away Triagr starts to classify and analyze those emails without any pre-training needed. Now, generally, previous to these beautiful large language models and the things that kind of ChatGPT and Azure OpenAI give us, what we'd need to do to solve this problem for customers is we need to go get tens of thousands of emails that are automatically labeled and categorized, and we would need to go and actually teach a machine learning model to recognize some of your emails, push some of the data to this machine learning model, and ask it to intelligently kind of guess for us what category this email should fit into. Now, the beautiful thing about some of the technology we have available to us now is these generative AI models are trained on billions and billions and billions of data points. And what this means is that we can use and leverage this large language model to automatically do this classification. So what that means is we don't have to spend hours, days, weeks, months, and years getting you to classify emails. We can just rely on these large language models, which allows you to get value immediately. So in an example here, here's an email that's come into this Triagr kind of email inbox folder. Here it is. It looks like it's a purchase order. And if we look at this specific email, there's a few interesting things on this specific email. So the first thing is at the top of the email, there's something that Exchange has tagged onto this email. So just some text. And at the bottom of this email, there's actually some details like an email signature and the like. Now, when we're trying to classify these emails, there's a few things that we need to do. The first thing we want to do is we want to get just the latest thread of the email. So we don't want to get all the previous threads of the email, because we just want to use the latest thread to allow us to categorize this email correctly. In addition to that, what we want to do is we want to remove the noise. And what I mean by that is in this example where there's kind of an Exchange header and maybe a signature down the bottom, we want to use our tool to automatically remove that, because we don't want that noise to disrupt any of our classification. And what that leaves us with is a beautiful, clean piece of text that we can then use to go and classify and analyze what the contents of this email actually is. So again, some of the smarts in Tecala Triagr, what this does, it uses those powerful Azure OpenAI models and those large language models that's nice and safe and secure and based inside your environment. So there's no data that's getting transferred into public models or the like. It's beautiful and safe inside your Azure subscription. And what we do is that large language model gives us back a classification of what this specific email is, and that's based off of your kind of custom categories. So in this example, this was a purchase order, and our tool has automatically classified this as a purchase order. Now that's a great start, because that allows us to classify these emails and move them into the appropriate folder. But what we've done is we have actually then gone through and added in a little Outlook add-in. So what an Outlook add-in is, it gives us the ability to then go through and see exactly what happened inside this classification. So here, this is kind of a window into the large language model and our tool, Tecala Triagr. So in this instance, we can see that it's classified this email as a purchase order. It's done some tone analysis or sentiment analysis to figure out what the tone in this email is. And in this case, it's polite. It's given us back a confidence rating to say that it is 100% confidence, and it's given us a summarized description of what this email is all about. Now, down the bottom, you'll see that there's also a tag, and what this is our tool saying, if we didn't classify this as a purchase order, what other potential category could this be, and how sure are you that it could be one of these other categories? And this just allows us to analyze the different contents of this email. So that's really, really nice. But the next problem that we run into is to say, all right, perhaps in 80% of the scenarios, the large language model classifies these emails correctly, but in certain instances, it may not get the classification correct. So how do we change things around? Well, what we've done is we've built into our tool something called an override. And what an override allows us to do, it allows us to update the classification of some of these emails. So if we look at an example of what that looks like, here's a new email that's come in. It's got a header and a signature body, but there's actually no kind of contents in the body of this email, which means that we wouldn't have necessarily got a classification on this email. So in this case, perhaps if it was wrongly classified, what we could do is we could surface up kind of one or more of these override rules. So in this instance, we might want to say, hey, if a new email comes from this user, Bruce Brown, then classify and categorize it as this specific category. Or perhaps the clue might be in the subject of the email. So perhaps if one or more keywords appear in the subject of the email, we want to classify it into a specific category. We might also have the clue inside the attachment name, so we could analyze the attachment name and then route it to a specific category based on that attachment name. And what we could also do is we could use some intelligent document processing to open up that specific document and then analyze and classify that email based off of the contents of the attachment. So what you can do in these override rules is you can light up one or more of these overrides, and then you could select an override category. You could save that away. And what that means is next time this email comes in or a similar email, we check for any of these override rules. If any of these override rules match, then what we'd do is we'd classify the email based off of the override. And if not, we'd send it through the normal flow to go to that kind of large language model and that generative AI model to go and automatically classify the model. Now, in the back end, what we do as well is, because this is your kind of company's large language model, what we can do is we can do something that we call fine tuning on that model as well, which means we can get that model better and better over time with some of your specific company details. And we've built in the capabilities to update some of those categories. So it's a really, really nice way to continually get better with some of the classifications of these emails. What we then have the ability to do is, because we're monitoring kind of all of these incoming emails, we can surface up some really nice reports for you to show you on any given day, week, month, or year, what categories of emails you're actually receiving, how many emails in each category you may be receiving. And we also do some kind of sentiment and tone analysis. So what we can do is we can show you exactly where customers might be feeling happy, sad, or indifferent, because we believe this is really, really important data that allows you to then go focus in where you might need to put some more team focus on it, or perhaps even look at some automation opportunities where you can self-serve and automatically answer some of these queries. So really, in summary, Tecala Triagr is a tool that allows you to automatically analyze and then classify any of your inbound email communications. It then gives you visibility into exactly what's happening inside each of those inbound emails. And then what we could do is we can automate one or more automation opportunities to then go through and automatically action that email in the appropriate way. All right, so people then ask us, okay, great, how do we get started with this wonderful Tecala Triagr tool? Well, again, very similar to Tecala GPT, book in a free 30-minute chat with us so we can go through your needs and we can get you a demonstrator set up. If you'd like to send us a few example emails and your custom categories, what we can do is we can put together a little video demonstrator for you that you can then take back to the business and show them some of the power of generative AI in action across your business scenario. So very similar to the GPT example, if you'd like to drop me an email or give me a call, we'd be happy to get the team to set up a quick call with you and get a demonstrator going for you.